what happened to you.
Come on in, the water's fine.
What are you doing?
Sitting on the porch having a glass of wine. What does it look like I'm doing?
You better not let Aunt Eleanor see you. You know she doesn't allow intoxicating beverages in her house.
I'm not in her house.
Or on the premises.
No, don't worry. She doesn't sit out here anymore. Anyway, I camouflaged the goods. And I happen to have another glass.
I don't know about this. I hear they tar and feather folks for lesser offenses in these parts.
Oh, you're such a snob. I can't believe you're my sister.
I'm kidding. Lighten up. I don't know why she keeps these old wine glasses. They just sit there gathering dust.
Sentimental value, I guess. I remember Grandma Anna used to serve grape juice in them on special occasions. What is she doing in there?
Talking to Helen and Mary Billings. Helen's giving her 2 cents, or maybe it's 5 or 6 by now, on the state of the world. I don't know how Aunt Eleanor puts up with her. Helen, I mean. She's as dumb as a rock and completely self-absorbed.
Well, she's used to her, I guess. They've been neighbors a long time. I'm glad you came for her birthday.
Thanks. You did a fabulous job, by the way. Cake, food, gifts. I know she appreciates it.
How can you tell? She complained about everything. The frosting was too sweet. The ice cream was too hard. The chicken salad had too much mayo.
You have to read between the lines.
I guess. You haven't seen her in a few years. How does she seem to you?
Fine.
I'm worried about her.
Why?
Well, for one thing, she keeps losing weight.
Has she been sick?
No, at least not physically. She has a long list of foods she won't eat. This food has too much salt, that one has too much cholesterol. Shellfish causes headaches. Broccoli causes irritable bowel syndrome. She reads every word on every can, jar, and package to make sure it doesn't contain something that'll kill her or make her fat. She says she needs to keep her girlish figure.
She's always been a little eccentric.
It's more than just a little eccentric, Jen. I hate to say this, but I think that Aunt Eleanor is getting a little senile. Do you know what she told me a while back?
No. What?
She said she wanted to join Parents Without Partners. Somebody in her coffee shop was talking about it.
So what's wrong with that?
Nothing. Except she's not a parent, and she's 85 years old. She also keeps losing things. She lost her keys the other day, and it was the second time this month.
So? I've misplaced my keys a time or two.
She forgot to pay her bills this month, and it wasn't the first time.
Maybe we need to remind her to pay her bills at the beginning of every month.
Okay, so what's next? Leaving the stove burners on, forgetting to take her medication. I think we need to face the fact that Aunt Eleanor is getting up there.
Is that why you asked me to come? It wasn't just for the birthday party, was it?
No, of course I wanted you to come for the party. But we also have to talk about Aunt Eleanor.
Talk about what about her?
She can't stay in this house forever, Jen. We need to start thinking about alternative living arrangements for her.
Like?
Like Sunset Village. I've gathered together all the information about Sunset and a few other places, and I know an agent who can take care of selling the house.
And Aunt Eleanor has agreed to this.
Well, I haven't talked to her about it yet. I wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row first. It'll be easier for her to accept it that way.
Okay, I know she can't stay in this house forever, but she's still able to get around. So she's a fussy eater and forgets things sometimes. That's no reason to stick her in an old folks' home.
Since when did you become such a Pollyanna? You were always the practical one. Tell it like it is, Jen.
Okay. I know you're here and I'm not, but...
So I guess it's not your problem.
What?
No. But if I'm the one who lives here and I see her all the time and you don't, then why are you second guessing me on this?
I'm not second guessing you. I just think maybe you're a little too close to the situation.
So you think it's clouding my judgment?
Yes?
So this is where you girls are hiding.
And Eleanor.
We're just out here getting some air.
Well, you got a beautiful day for it. I see you found the old wine glasses, and I guess you found the grape juice too.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I brought you some sandwiches in case you're still hungry.
Thanks. Are Helen and Mary still here?
Oh, yes. Helen's on her second piece of cake. Honestly, I don't know why she doesn't have diabetes, but she eats so much sweets that I don't know how she can eat it because it is so sweet. I had to scrape the frosting off, but there's plenty left. Would either of you like a piece?
Oh, no, thanks.
None for me either.
Oh, gracious. These new shoes are killing my bunions. Poor Helen. She's going on and on about how she'd like to retire, but she doesn't think she could get by on Social Security. And I don't think she'll get much of a pension. Isn't it a shame to be her age and not be able to retire? And I don't even think she has health insurance.
How old is Helen now?
Well, she won't say, but she's got to be around 70. She thinks she looks 50 ever since she had that work done, but she's at least 70. You know, I was lucky to be able to retire when I did. I was only 65. Mr. Biggs, he was my boss. He really liked me, so I got a big severance when I left. He was a nice man, Mr. Biggs, but I don't know how he stood that wife of his. She was a real female dog, if you know what I mean. I think she was jealous of me because Mr. Biggs would have me pick out gifts for him to give to people, even for her.
I'm not sure I would like it if Greg had his secretary pick out gifts for me.
Oh, no, dear, of course not. And Greg would never do that. But Mr. Biggs didn't care for his wife. And that's why he had me pick out the gifts for her instead of picking them out himself. And she knew that, and she resented me for that.
Poor Mr. Biggs.
Oh, you don't know the half of it. She was so cold on the phone when she would call the office, you'd need an ice pick. I don't know how he stood it. And on top of it all, she was a real floozy. She wore sweaters that were 2 sizes too small for her with, what do you call them now? We used to call them falsies.
Enhancers, I think?
Oh, yes, yes. And she wore thick black mascara and false eyelashes. The whole 9 yards.
Aunt Eleanor, did you have a little thing going on with Mr. Biggs?
What kind of thing?
You know, was he more than just a boss to you?
Oh, good heavens, no, Jen. He was a married man. I'd never do anything to break up someone's happy family. Well, I'd better go see if Helen has put Mary to sleep yet. And finished her cake. I swear, I don't know how she doesn't have diabetes the way she eats so much sweets. Oh, and all that dye they put in the frosting. You know, if you see blue flowers, that they put something pretty unnatural in those ingredients. And it doesn't do much for her figure either. And you know, it doesn't matter how old you are, you've got to try to keep your girlish figure. Especially if you're single. You never know when Mr. Right might come along. And we all know what men are like when it comes to the physical side of things. Well, help yourself to more grape juice if you like.
You don't see any change in her?
No, not really. I love the dig she got in about Helen's facelift. Poor Helen.
Well, at least she doesn't have any wrinkles anymore.
That is true. There's barely enough skin left to cover her face, let alone wrinkle.
I don't think she looks that bad.
You're joking.
You don't think her facelift makes her look younger?
Oh. She looks exactly like what she is, a 70-year-old woman with a facelift.
I was thinking of getting one.
You're not serious. Why? You're still young. You look great. You're not worried you're becoming less attractive to Greg, are you? Don't tell me he's having an affair.
No. Can't imagine Greg having an affair. He's too good. It is a funny thought, though. He'd probably be like this guy in a movie I once saw who got so excited about the prospect he jumped on top of the girl with his socks still on. It was pretty funny. There was this guy going at it completely naked except for his socks.
Are you and Greg okay?
Yeah, why?
Doesn't sound like it.
Well, we are.
You're happy.
Greg's a great guy. Totally loyal. He would never cheat on me.
You didn't answer my question.
Sorry, counselor. Yes, I am happy. Greg is a wonderful husband, a doting father and grandfather, a pillar of the community. I am a lucky, lucky woman to be married to Greg Watson. Okay?
And you know that.
Know what?
That you're lucky to be married to Greg.
For God's sakes, yes. I think you need more wine. Can we please change the subject?
Sure.
Sure. I can't believe you don't think Aunt Eleanor's changed. I mean, the way she rambles on about things, like she did about her boss just now.
She's always been a talker.
I know, but it's different now. She talks about things she never talked about before. Like the other day, she went on and on about Uncle Ed and their engraving business and how using the engraving tools caused the arthritis in her hands. And then she went on and on about Uncle Ed and how he was a bigamist. I mean, she never talked about stuff like that before. I don't think I heard her mention Uncle Ed's name in all the years since their divorce until the other day.
Maybe she's just more reflective now that she's getting older. Maybe it's a catharsis for her.
Maybe.
That whole thing with Uncle Ed was so bizarre. The really bizarre thing is for all those years she didn't have a clue. I mean, I can't believe there weren't signs along the way. For one, he must have been out of town a lot.
Yeah, she may never have found out if she hadn't found that receipt from the dry cleaner with Uncle Ed's name and number on it. Could you imagine how she felt when she called that number and another Mrs. Cook answered the phone? No wonder she never got remarried. I am glad, though, that Mom asked her to move out here after she retired.
She obviously adores Claire. I think she was sorry Greg and Claire left so early.
Yeah, I know. I felt bad about that, but tomorrow is the school day, and I should bring Claire out here more often, though. She's good for Aunt Eleanor.
She's a terrific kid.
Yeah, she is. She's growing up fast.
Does she still ask questions about Lucy?
More and more. I just don't know what to say. What do you say to a 12-year-old? I can't bring myself to tell her the truth, and I don't want to lie to her. So far, all I've said is, God took her mother to a better place and just left it at that.
That is such a cop-out. You're not even that religious.
I'm religious enough.
Does she ever ask about her father?
No, she never really knew him.
Sooner or later, you're going to have to tell her something, Abby. You need to be prepared with some answers.
I know.
You can't just shelter her forever. I mean, I know it's none of my business,
You're
but
right, it's
all
not.
I'm trying to say is if you go on overprotecting her, one of these days she'll have no choice but to...
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Abby, have you seen that picture of your mom and me when we went to Ireland that time? You know, the one I keep on the mantle? The one with that beautiful scenery in the background? I wanted to show it to Mary.
No, I haven't.
That's one more thing that's missing. I think she's been taking things again.
Taking things?
Yes, I hate to cast stones, but I think it's the cleaning lady's daughter. There's something awfully peculiar about that girl. For one thing, she wears way too much makeup for her age, and she smokes. I don't know what it is that she smokes, but I can smell it a mile away. That was one of my favorite pictures, too.
She's also getting paranoid.
Paranoid?
This thing about the cleaning lady's daughter taking her things.
More than just the photograph?
Other postcards, foreign coins, other photographs.
Why would the girl take those things?
Well, that's just it. The girl didn't take her things, and Eleanor is imagining it.
I didn't even know Aunt Eleanor had a cleaning lady. It surprises me she'd do that. She hates having strangers in the house.
She didn't. I went ahead and hired someone. I had to. She can't keep up this house by herself anymore.
Maybe the daughter did take those things. Maybe the postcards, foreign coins, whatever, looked attractive to her. Maybe she thought she could use them for a school project. I
Jen,
really don't know.
Jen, I know I'm not the intellect you are. I wasn't first in my class. I don't have a fancy job or an advanced degree, but I am smart enough to see what's right in front of me. And what I see is that Aunt Eleanor is going downhill.
Okay,
and,
I'm sorry, but...
But you still don't believe me.
I believe you, Abby. I just don't believe you're necessarily drawing the right conclusions.
Well, forgive me if I'm not up to the job.
You know, Abby, this whole poor me routine, it wears thin.
What is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. Forget it.
I'm just about to put some coffee on. Do you girls want any? It's decaf.
Thanks, I'll have some in, Eleanor.
I'll have some too.
Helen's trying to convince Mary and I to buy Netflix. She says they have practically every movie that was ever made and that they'll send you any movie you want. And she says it's cheap. Is that true?
Yes, sort of. But you need a computer to get Netflix, Aunt Eleanor.
A computer? Why do I need a computer? Doesn't it work on the TV?
You pick the movies you want them to send you from the computer.
Well, how do I do that?
The names of all the movies they have are on their website. You pick the ones you want them to send and send your list to them from the computer.
Well, can I just call them up and tell them what I want? I already know what I want to see.
Well, I don't think they're set up that way, but you could always sign up for Netflix streaming.
For what?
Never mind.
It's just not fair. Some of us don't have computers. They're discriminating against people who don't have computers.
I guess that's true.
I didn't know Helen had a computer. Well, I'll let you know when the coffee's done.
Can you honestly say she doesn't seem dottier than usual?
Maybe a little. So what? I hope I have so much spirit and energy at that age.
I guess you're not around her enough. You're not here to see when she loses things or forgets things or falls. The other day, she slipped on a throw rug and bruised her arm. What if she slips in the shower or something?
Oh, come on, Abby.
Why are you so against the idea of Aunt Eleanor moving to a place like Sunset Village? There's nobody for her here. All the neighbors have young families and busy lives. The only person she sees is Helen, and you said so yourself. Helen's as dumb as a rock.
I understand how you feel. It's just not our place to
To what?
coerce her to move out of her house, Abby. It's her home.
So we should what? Wait until something bad happens to do something? And that's not the only reason. She can't afford to maintain this house. I mean, look at this place. It needs paint, repairs, a new roof.
She's 85 years old, Abby. She's probably not going to live that many more years. I say we leave her alone until she clearly can't manage on her own. Besides, she'd go nuts in a place like Sunset
Village.
Village, where everything is prescribed for her, where they tell her what to eat and when she can play cards. She's not a child, Abby. For Pete's sake, she's just old.
We have to do what's best for her, Jen.
When did you become the expert on what's best for her? Maybe you should focus a little more on what's best for you and leave everyone else to decide what's best for them. But maybe that's exactly what you're doing.
What's that supposed to mean?
Nothing.
No. Why don't you come out and say what you mean instead of throwing out some cryptic little remark?
Okay, look. I know this can't be easy for you. You have a granddaughter to raise, a house to keep up, a part-time job. Maybe you're feeling a little bit burdened by Aunt Eleanor. Maybe you're worried you'll have to take care of her like you did for Mom.
Oh, I see. You are a psychiatrist now, as well as a lawyer. Are you also a fortune teller? I hope so, because I could use a little help in that department.
I just think you need to lighten up about Aunt Eleanor. There is no reason for you to hover over her and worry about her all the time.
She's our aunt. We're all she has. Maybe I don't have all the answers, but I can't go on letting her live here, seeing her go downhill, and do nothing about it until one day I get a phone call from someone saying, "Are you related to Eleanor Cook? I'm terribly sorry, but she was fatally struck by a car when she fell crossing the corner of First and Vine." Besides, Mom asked me to take care of her.
Mom asked you to take care of Aunt Eleanor.
I promised her I would before she died. Of course, she couldn't burden you. You were too busy building an important career.
Nothing ever changes, does it, Abby?
What?
You've always had this chip on your shoulder about me. Why?
Why? Little Jen, the golden girl with the straight A's and the scholarship. All those years I took care of Mom. Went to her house every day. Paid her bills, did her shopping, brought her to live with us in her final days, and all she ever talked about was you. Did you hear from Jen lately? Isn't it wonderful about Jen's promotion? Did you see the beautiful flowers that Jen brought for Mother's Day? And then she started making excuses for you never coming to visit. Oh, I'm sure Jen would be here if she could, but she's under so much pressure at her job.
When did you become such a martyr?
And when did you become such a holier-than-thou, self-righteous bitch?
I'm self-righteous? All you ever talk about is everything you do for everyone. How everyone depends on you. How put upon you are. I am sure Greg finds that very attractive.
You are a pretentious piece of shit.
Lovely language, Abby. Very upscale.
At least I care about people. You haven't done a damn thing for another person in your life.
That is so unfair. Maybe you should examine your own motives before you cast stones.
My motives?
Maybe you want to send Aunt Eleanor to Sunset Village so they'll be responsible if something happens to her instead of you. Maybe you're overreacting because of what happened to Lucy.
Now who's being unfair? I guess that's what a well-trained lawyer does. Go right for the jugular.
I'm just trying to put this whole thing in some perspective, Abby.
Let me see. I feel guilty because I screwed up with my daughter, so I don't want responsibility for Aunt Eleanor because I'm afraid I'm going to feel guilty in the event something happens to her.
I didn't mean it like that, Abby. All I'm trying to say is you don't have to feel personally responsible for Aunt Eleanor. And you didn't screw up with Lucy. Bad things happen. You have no reason to feel guilty.
Now you're telling me how I should feel?
What else could you have done?
The doctor is in.
Abby, what were you supposed to do? Follow your daughter around all day to make sure she didn't take too many prescription drugs? She was an adult. You can't protect a person from all the bad things that happen in life. It was an accident. A tragic, tragic accident. You can't go on blaming yourself.
It's none of your business, Jen.
You know what I think? I think your guilt over Lucy's death has crippled you to the point where you don't feel you deserve anything. Not even Greg.
Stop it!
No, listen to me, Abby. If you go on like this, eventually you will drive away Greg and you will overprotect Claire to the point where she'll have no choice but to rebel.
You're a fine one to preach. Do you even know what it feels like to love someone enough that you have a sense of responsibility toward them? But no matter. You have a fabulous job, a beautiful apartment, freedom to travel. You have it all, Jen. Brilliant, accomplished, sophisticated.
Come on.
But take a good look, Jen, because you're also completely and utterly alone. And that's exactly what you deserve.
Coffee's almost done. Come in whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Aunt Eleanor.
Did you and Abby have a fight, Jen? She looks upset.
I guess so.
Jen, dear, you girls are too old to be fighting.
You're right, Aunt Eleanor.
You look very glum this trip, Jen. Are you all right?
I'm fine.
Well, I'm sure that job of yours can be hard on the nerves.
Oh, really, Aunt Eleanor, I'm fine. I just need some rest. Of
Well, you've come to the right place. You mind if I sit a minute?
course.
Abby can entertain Helen and Mary for a while. You know, I was thinking the other day, it's been almost 20 years since I came out here. I moved here right after I retired. Your mom thought it would be nice if I moved closer to her so she could see me more often. But I think the real reason was that she thought I was lonely because I was divorced and didn't have any children of my own. Turns out Uncle Ed was a bigamist. Did you know that?
Yes, I knew that.
He was a real son of a female dog, you know what I mean.
I'm sorry, Aunt Eleanor. That must have been hard.
Don't be sorry, Jen. I was happier without him. I didn't know I would be, but I was. He could be charming when he wanted to be, but most of the time he was very difficult. Grandma Anna loved him, though, because he had such a beautiful singing voice. He used to sing professionally in church choirs, you know.
Yes, I think Mom told me that. Whatever happened to Uncle Ed?
He went back to his own family. I think he's dead now, though.
Were you glad you moved out here?
Oh, yes. It took me a while to get used to it, but I'm used to it now. It's not so polluted, not so many cars. I did miss some things about the city, though. The stores and the restaurants. I used to go to the theater sometimes.
Weren't you active in that big church on the north side near the lake?
Oh, yes. I was a deacon there several years. It was a very nice church. My, you're full of questions this trip, Jen.
Helen and Mary are getting ready to leave. Helen's eating one last piece of cake for the road. They said they'll let themselves out back. Helen said she'll call you tomorrow.
Well, I better go see them out or Helen will pout for a month.
I'm sorry what I said before.
This always happens, doesn't it, Abby? Like these wind chimes. They hang there peacefully without contact, and then a big gust of wind comes along and they clang against each other. The bigger the gust, the louder they clang.
It was wrong of me to judge your choices. It's not like my life has been any great shakes.
I'm sorry, too, for what I said about Lucy. And you're right, it was none of my business.
I just don't want to make the same mistakes with Claire. I guess it's hard for you to understand since you never raised a child.
No, I never raised a child. I had an abortion once.
Really? When?
My last semester of college. I never told anyone. I thought about having the baby, getting married. I almost did.
What happened to the father?
We went our separate ways after graduation. I think he joined the foreign service.
Were you in love with him?
I thought I was.
But you never kept in touch with him.
He tried to contact me a few times, but I didn't respond.
Why? I mean, if you were in love with him...
I think I was afraid.
Of what?
I don't know. Afraid I'd end up like Mom, I guess. Her life just always seemed like one big chore. Taking care of us, taking care of Dad, taking care of Grandma, taking care of the dog, taking care of the yard. It never looked like much fun to me.
Mom's problems weren't about chores.
I know that now, but when I was 21, it all just seemed so joyless.
What was his name?
Who? Oh, Lance. His name was Lance. I used to call him Sir Lance a lot. He hated that.
And then?
What?
I mean, I know you dated, but you never were serious about anybody, and I always wondered about that.
I had a few relationships. Well, a few convenient, mutually satisfactory arrangements, I guess.
But now marriage, why?
I always told myself that I never cared enough about anyone to want to spend the rest of my life with them. But either that or it was a matter of bad timing, you know, the right guy at the wrong time, the wrong guy at the right time. But I think you were right. I think the truth is that I just never wanted to be responsible to anyone or for anyone. Hell, I never even wanted a pet.
I'm sorry, Jen.
You were right about Aunt Eleanor, too. If she stays in her house, you'll be the one that has to make sure she takes her medicine, make sure she pays her bills, doesn't burn the house down. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't do that from 300 miles away.
I'm glad you agree. Now we'll find her a nice place right by our house. She might not like the idea at first, but she'll
Abby,
get...
I've been thinking. I know this may sound crazy.
It won't be the first time.
I'd like to ask Aunt Eleanor to move in with me.
What?
I'd like to ask Aunt Eleanor to come live with me. I think she'd be happier there in the city than someplace like Sunset Village.
You're right, it sounds crazy.
I think we'd be good for each other.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm serious. I want to do this.
You can't make a decision like this on impulse. You haven't thought this through, what you would be getting into. She's okay now, but she could use a lot of care down the road. It could get very difficult.
I know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
At least think about it for a week or two before you ask her.
No, I'm serious. I really want to do this.
I thought I was the stupid one in the family. But if you ask me, it's a really dumb idea. I guess I can't talk you out of asking her.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
But if she says yes, you better make sure you have a good supply of paper bags, because you're going to need to camouflage a lot of wine bottles.
Phew, they finally left. Honestly, I think Helen would just gab all day long if you let her.
Aunt Eleanor, come sit down.
Okay. My, it's so warm out here and it isn't even summer yet.
Abby and I have something we'd like to talk to you about.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
Jen and I were thinking, we know you love this house, and you've been very happy here, but it needs a lot of work. I mean, the roof needs repairing, the whole house needs painting,
Oh, I know, dear. But I can't afford to just fix everything. I know it's a shame that I've let it go like this.
That's just it, Aunt Eleanor. It would cost a lot of money to fix everything. More money than you have. And it's a lot to take care of. You said that yourself.
I know. It's a shame that I've let it go like this.
So Jen and I think it would be a good idea for you to think about moving.
Moving?
Yes, and we think the best place for you to move to would be to
the city with me.
There are other options, of course.
The city?
You used to love the city, and I have an extra bedroom. You'd be right downtown, near all the stores and restaurants. You could even walk to the theater.
Oh, Jen,
But if you'd rather not live in the city, there are some nice places right here.
There's a church a few blocks away from me. I'm sure they have some activities you'd like to participate in. And there are nice people in my building. I think maybe even a few of them are retired. In fact, I think the woman across the hall from me.
That's very kind of you, Jen.
You don't have to make up your mind right now.
I just
think about it for a while.
Oh, dear Jen, I'm overwhelmed, and I do appreciate your generous offer, but I couldn't possibly move in with you right now.
I know you miss being near everyone here, but we can visit often, and Claire can visit us in the city. She'd love that.
Oh, dear. I wasn't going to say anything yet. I wanted to wait until Jack was here to...
Jack?
Who's Jack?
Jack Monroe. Well, his real name is John Monroe, of course, but he's gone by Jack ever since he was a little boy. I met him at Parents Without Partners. He's an awfully nice man. He's taking me on a cruise next month to Alaska.
Alaska? How long have you known Jack?
Well, I've known him for a while now.
How long?
Several months. 5 to be exact.
That's not very long, Aunt Eleanor, especially when you're talking about going off on a trip like that.
Oh, I know him well enough. And when you get to be my age, you've been around the block enough times to know Mr. Right when he comes along.
Mr. Right?
I think he's going to ask me to marry him.
Marry him?
Aunt Eleanor, in all the years since Uncle Ed, you've never even considered dating anyone, let alone marrying anyone.
Well, the right person never came along before. Now he has. And I was lucky to meet him when I did too. His wife died just a few months before. And you know, there's only a small window of opportunity before somebody else comes along and snatches him up.
Okay, where is he now? How come you didn't invite him to your birthday party?
Oh, I did. He couldn't come. He's in Cleveland visiting his mother.
His mother?
Yes, she's very ill. Poor thing, she's 98 years old and has all kinds of things wrong with her. Jack thinks that it's near the end.
How old is Jack?
Well, 78, but he'll be 79 next month. Do you think I'm terrible?
Terrible?
You know, for robbing the cradle. Jack doesn't know, of course. He thinks I'm younger than I am, and I didn't tell him otherwise. So I'd appreciate it if you didn't let the cat out of the bag.
Of course.
Our lips are sealed.
Oh, you'd really like Jack. He's a lot of fun. Oh, that must be Jack now. He said he was going to call and wish me a happy birthday.
Oh, that doesn't beat all.
You think
I hope I managed to get some of her genes.
You think she'll be okay?
I guess so, but maybe we should meet him before she goes off on a trip with him.
You don't suppose he's trying to take advantage of her, do you? I mean, she's a vulnerable lady.
She may be an old lady, but she's not that vulnerable. Besides, what's to take advantage of? She doesn't have any money. In fact, it sounds like he must have some money to be taking her on a cruise. Anyway, Aunt Eleanor is the one who sees the window of opportunity. So, who's taking advantage of whom?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Are you disappointed she won't be living with you?
Yes, I think so.
It was a nice thing that you were willing to do for her.
But it wouldn't have just been for her.
I know.
You know, you're a rich woman, Abby. Don't let what you've lost destroy what you have.
Don't get all philosophical on me.
Greg's a good man. He loves you.
I know.
And you love him.
I know.
If I were you, you know what I'd do?
What?
I'd buy myself a sexy black negligee, make a date with my husband, and try my damnedest to get him excited enough to make love to me with his socks on.
I might just do that. What about you? I guess you're going back tomorrow.
I don't know. I have some leave time. Maybe I'll stay and hang out with you guys for a while. I could help Aunt Eleanor pick out her trousseau. And who knows? Maybe I'll check out the next meeting of Parents Without Partners.
Ooh, I'll drink to that.
Jack says hello. He's so anxious to meet you both.
We're looking forward to meeting him too, Aunt Eleanor.
Well, I think I'm gonna pour myself another cup of coffee, and you girls come in whenever you're ready. Oh, and if you want more grape juice, there's some in the cellar. Chateau St. Martin, 2006, I think.